Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You're always most welcome. Well, been a very busy week as I speak. It's last week in July, first week of August, 1st of August as I actually film this. So you'll be seeing this 2 or 3 days later, I guess. But very hectic because we've had launching a brand new second channel. What was I thinking of? So we've got a new channel that is not modelling related. That's the whole point really. It's all the other things that I like to talk about or show. Not so much, there's less of me talking. There are a couple of the historic documentary chats, sort of fireside chat type documentaries where I'm really talking through historic events as well. But there's also a mix of lots of action. We've had Classic Car Festival, we've had a puppet show, we've had fighter jets taking off and landing and all that kind of thing, and the Lancaster bomber. A lot of stuff actually, quite a lot of interesting stuff. I hope you agree. So I just wanted, before I start, today we've got a fantastic couple of kits from ICM. I'm going to get into that in just a moment. But just first I want to say, please do subscribe to the new channel. I'll put you the link in below, and I'll put you a couple of links to basically the intro, how I explain about the new channel, which is the show talking about the future of my YouTube channels, as they are now, plural. And also one of the new channels, I'll try and put a link in to one of my new videos for you. So please do subscribe, because we're trying to get, just to reiterate very quickly, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers to get the channel up and running. Otherwise I won't get paid for it, and it just becomes a burden and it becomes an imposition. And you know, I can't afford to work for free like nobody can. So frankly, we've got to get that going as quick as possible. So it costs you nothing to subscribe to the new channel, and of course it's called Peter Goes Rogue, because I am going rogue. I'm going off script. I'm going away from the models. I'm talking about other things. Models do appear from time to time to illustrate, especially on the history talks. But I'm trying to just separate it. So this is purely a modelling channel you're watching now, and the other one is all sorts of other things. There's going to be all sorts of things: travel, entertainment, wild animals, you name it. I might even get the cat involved. Somebody watched this show the other day and said, if you want to have success and don't do much work, you need to get your cat involved. So we'll try that if I can get Pee-wee to cooperate. She's currently gone out hunting. I think she's chasing pigeons at the moment. But we'll get her on the show, I promise you, we'll get her on the show, on the other channel. Anyway, in the meantime, back to this channel. So, ICM have just released at the end of July their new Henschel Hs123A. And there are not one but two versions of it. So we've got the late version, which is used, for example, on the Eastern Front, amongst other places, and used on lots of places. We've also got the early, it doesn't say early, but the Legion Condor is the early version, which doesn't have the aerial mast on top. And it has the big, huge pitot. Oh, they both have that. Actually, it's just the artwork. They do both have that. The biggest difference is this one has got the mast on top, and this one doesn't. That's one of the biggest differences. A few little tweaks, but this is obviously during the Spanish Civil War, 1937. Yeah, 37. And they're all the versions are Spanish Civil War versions. 3 different marking options. So what I thought we would do is trying to decide which way to do this, really. I mean, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of point in completely reviewing these two like two separate kits, because there is only tiny differences. But I will show them to you there. You make sure you see all the markings and anything that's obvious. We'll look at them both. But I won't get out every spray because that would just be long and boring and unnecessarily so. So I think we'll probably start with the early version, then we'll move on to that one later. So, again, you know, we've been talking about this, about the difficulties of manufacturers have recently. Several of you have commented, well, not surprised your channel's gone a little bit quieter because there's not much going on in the industry. And it is a bit of a quiet time. Of course, we just have had some news. We had that lovely Qatari ME BF109K4, which was very, very nice. I just want to say, though, about that, I really like that kit. Please don't get the wrong idea here. I really like it, and it was almost a 10 out of 10, but for a couple of small glitches. One being no engine and the other one being the German symbol. But just bear in mind, somebody said, oh, it's great value, it's 90 quid, I think somebody said he paid for it. But I just want to remind people, somebody else, one of you actually pointed this out as well, which saying what I was actually thinking. We did previously have that Zukimura, the Eric Hartmann, was it? Eric Hartmann, I think it was. The Ace with the figure, and we had the 109, and it was BF109 G14, I think it was. That was an amazing kit, and that got absolutely everything. Now, I'm not trying to say it's better. Depends what you want. It comes down to what you want, I think. If you want to have an engine and lots of complexity and every detail and a very immersive learning experience, then you're probably going to go for Zukimura. But if you want to have the documentation and the beauty of the instructions and the helpfulness of the instructions and relative simplicity, then you go for Qatari. And I'm not saying which is better, it's just purely down to what... I mean, I could almost be in the mood for either of those kits, either or, you know, depending on... probably at the moment I go for the Qatari because my mojo's just not quite there yet, which is why I've not been doing a lot of building lately. But if it's midwinter and you want to get into a really interesting deep dive project with lots of historical data and fantastic accuracy, you probably go for Zukimura. So I just wanted to add that, really, before I get into this review, just to say to you, I think people have very short memories, me included sometimes. Don't forget that Zukimura, which was it was going to be my kit of the year, wasn't it? Was it 2023? I can't remember now, either 22 or 23. It was about to be kit of the year, and then Tamiya brought out that incredible F35, even though I thought the subject wasn't as interesting. The execution was so amazing, it trumped it and it pushed it into second place. But it would have been kit of the year if Tamiya had not pulled that out of the bag in December. And this last year, they didn't manage to do that with the Porsche, did they? It came too late for kit of the year. So that happened in that year. That Zukimura BF109 G14 would have won, hands down, clear winner. Just got trumped by technical brilliance of that Tamiya at the very last minute, literally. Just as it was about to cross the line first, it's like being out sprinted, photo finish. But I'm just making the point, it depends what you want in life. You've got two products there that are BF109s, different make and models, but fantastic, both fantastic. You wouldn't be disappointed in either kit, I don't think, really. Anyway, today's ICM. They continue to have a tough time over there. There's been more attacks on the city in Kyiv and all this kind of thing. I'm not going to go into the politics of it, obviously, but it's been very difficult for them, and they continue to keep bringing out. Now, we know there's a Hamdan coming. And I think that these difficulties that, you keep thinking it's calming down, it flares up in terms of the city of Kyiv. I mean, it's very, very hard for these guys to continue. And yet they still come out with a new tool almost every month. Almost every month there is a new tool. No other manufacturer is performing to this level. Not Tamiya, not Airfix, not Raval, not Zukimura, not Meng, not Great Wall Hobby, not Ryefield, etc, etc, etc. Nobody is coming out with new stuff like ICM are. I think we deserve a round of applause for it. Anyway, let's get into this. So, the Spanish Civil War, quite a nasty affair, I've got to tell you, if you do your history. The Legion Condor was the German Nazi legions, basically, that were masquerading as under General Franco's support for General Franco, who's the fascist leader in Spain at the time. And they were attacking civilians and attacking what they thought were rebel strongholds against them and all that kind of thing. Quite nasty, quite an unpleasant time, and there were terrible massacres, places like Guernica that were bombed to bits, quite frankly, and lots of civilians died there. And lots of other places. Anyway, let's get into the kit. So it's kit number, it's 30 seconds, guys. I mean, looking forward to this. This is actually overdue. This is it's about 7 or 8 months overdue. It's going to be last year originally. So, as I say, don't be too upset and don't get too impatient with ICM. They're doing their best in the most difficult circumstances, and they've certainly got better excuses than some other manufacturers have got. So, it is kit number 32016 or 15, depending on which variant you go for. You might want to go for both. It's a new tool. Model represents the HS123A attack aircraft during its deployment in the Spanish Civil War. Accurately depicts the appearance of the 123A aircraft used by the Legion Condor of Germany. Luftwaffe, basically. Features original placement of the Venturi tube on the fuselage. The Venturi tube on the fuselage. Venturi tube. I'm sure they'll explain this more in a minute. I think they mean this here as the Venturi tube. And the absence of the mast on the upper wing. External characteristics which are on the Legion Condor. And it has 3 different markings. 3, and it has 193 parts, so it's not very part heavy. It shouldn't be too much of a nightmare to build. It should be fairly straightforward. But let's have a look then. So, straight from the hands of the delivery man, let's see what we've got. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping out a bit too fast. It's because I'm aware it's going to take a while, because there's 2 of them. We've got 3 versions, so we've got, and again, you can see how the Germans are trying to keep their normal nomenclature out of it and making it sound more Spanish related. Just says 24-3, which is obviously a group. 24-4 or 24-5. And to be perfectly honest with you, apart from the number, I can't see much difference apart from a little bit of camo difference. The first one, yeah, there is a tiny difference in the camo. Looks like they were making it up as they went along a little bit, doesn't it? Anyhow. Strange times, because the Stukas were involved as well, and the BF109 E's. The first version of the E, and I think they had the C there as well. Because that was early days for the 109. That's like, it was almost treated like a test session. That's the right way to put it. Rather a grim way to test your aircraft, but you know what I mean. Oops. Just got a little bit of a... There we go. Oh, no, I haven't done it. Amateur hour, haven't done the end. That doesn't help. There we go. Let's have a look then. I might have to use that again because obviously ICM use these resealable, very crinkly bags. You better cover your ears. Okay, we're looking forward to this actually. Yeah, that's one that's a bit overdue. I mean, a biplane, obviously, that was produced very late in the 30s. So it's almost basically the last biplane for the Germans. Like we had the Gladiator, didn't we? And they had this. And they're not dissimilar aircraft in some respects, it has to be said. Okay, so 1 bag of screws, a bag that's an appropriate size, not like some other manufacturers. And then we have got our instructions. Let's read you what it says here then. So make sure I remove those decals before they fly off. They look good. So it says, in the summer of 1936, there we go, a civil war broke out in Spain. During this conflict, Germany supported the nationalist side by secretly supplying them with weapons. Not that secretly, I'll tell you. Everybody knew about it. Between the autumn of 1936 and the spring of 1937, 5 of these HS-123 aircraft were sent to Spain for combat trials and assigned to the experimental unit VJ-88. This unit was part of the German Condor Legion. Although officially classified as fighters, it was really primarily used in the ground attack role. It's because it was kind of obsolete already, wasn't it, in truth. Although it didn't have much opposition that was better than it, I don't think, in truth. Not in Spain, I mean. The first combat operation was during the Battle of Malaga. Oh, I didn't know this. Is that Malaga then in the background? It is, isn't it? I've just realised. Looks a bit different today. I've driven around that coast. I've been there. But many of you have as well. Battle of Malaga. As close air support aircraft, the HS-123s performed excellently, demonstrating high survivability and the ability to operate from short, unprepared airstrips. They also showed outstanding balance and speed and manoeuvrability, and when damaged, could easily escape enemy fighters by simply diving very steeply. One of the 5 aircraft that were deployed was lost in action, while the remaining... Of the 5 that were deployed, 3 were lost in action. They weren't doing that well then. Hang on a second, that's most of them. While the remaining 2 later got transferred to the Nationalist Air Force, the Luftwaffe. No, they mean Spain. So they became Spanish planes. Okay. Ooh. So length 8.3 metres, wingspan 10.5 metres, takeoff weight 2.3 tonnes. It's quite heavy for an aircraft like that. I suppose it's because it's got metal wings, isn't it? I think it's a metal wing, isn't it? Engine was a BMW 132 with 880 horsepower, which is quite a fair amount for that type of aircraft. You know, biplane, it's a lot. That. Maximum speed 341, so it's about 250 miles an hour. Not bad. Maximum ferry range 750 kilometres, 500 miles, 450 miles. Armament 2, 7.92 machine guns, and up to 450 kilograms of bombs. There we go. Right, let's have a look at the quick look at before we go to instructions. I always prefer to do decals first. Let's have a quick look at this. And yeah, they're very nice, these. The only thing I would say, there's a slight blotchiness on the surface of them, which the camera may or may not pick up. But they look nicely designed. Can you see this blotching? Yeah, see, yes you can see it, can't you? Yeah, get that? Yeah, there it is. That is the release liner. It did seem very stuck to it, so whether they've used a little bit too much, whatever they spray on it to make it adhere, just a temporary, you know. May well vanish that when you've got your clear coats on it, or you've got your decal fluid on it. It probably don't disappear. And then we've got, excuse me, yawning at lunchtime. It's not even lunchtime yet. Dear, oh dear. We've got some warmer weather again here. So what have we got? Teufel. And yes, you've got some instrument markings here as well. Looks very nice and very minimalistic. You know, do not walk basically. Lines, and that's kind of it in terms of stencils. So there's not much to say there. A couple of skull and crossbones. Very nice, very nice. So let's have a look at the actual instructions then. Just zoom back a bit. What have we got here? So usual thing, we've got a sprue map. A couple of parts you're not going to use in this variant, which I suspect to be used in the other version. And again, likewise, you've got a couple blotted out there. So you've got things like oxygen bottle. A bit closer. Oxygen bottle here, and then attaching that, and I think it's probably a CO2 filter canister actually, or similar. Then we've got that all being attached to the side of the fuselage. And then we've got the bulkhead coming in that goes in behind. And then we've got a couple of controls and the adjustment levers. Is that a tilt mechanism? Yeah, tilt mechanism I think for the seat. Pedals going in, instrumentation coming in, and your stick coming in. That's a huge, it shouldn't take long this. So then that instrumentation sector is going in onto that starboard side of the fuselage. Then you start doing the port side, and you've got some instruments and controls here that go in onto the helicopter going on. They're going on the port side, and what's that? Is that a... what is that? Oh, it's an intake at the front. Intake? Yeah. Intake that goes in at the front here, and then you bring the two cockpit sides together around your... sorry, the fuselage sides together around your cockpit, I should say. Then we've got the cannons, where the cannons exit are on the top of the fuselage, cowling there, top of the engine. And then we've got a couple of like fillets, trim fillets that go almost like a little door. Do they flap down? They might be flaps that drop down. Then you've got your bottom wing being constructed here, and your lower rear fuselage going in there. Tailplanes going on, complete with these little like cabane struts, don't they? A bit like the ME109. They were really into that at the time. It made for a lighter construction, but the problem was it was very draggy, and this is why they dropped it on the 109 later. Caused a lot of drag, especially when it was climbing or turning. And then we've got our engine with the multi-cylinder radial engine coming in, the BMW engine. And our exhausts going on here, and then that's got the cooling, is that the cooling ring, intake ring, and then the exhaust, that goes in, gets mounted in. The final exhaust coming out there at the back, underneath. I flipped it over now. And then there's a little cowl that goes on, then you build up, I don't feel like this actually having it in multiple parts, but anyway, you build it up like in separate leaves almost, almost like petals on a flower. Those all go in, and then you turn it back the other way around, and you are putting your top ones in, final cowls at the top. Tailplane goes on, elevators going on here. Then you've got your control rods for operating the elevators at the back. Then you've got your main cabane struts coming in, there's the central struts, and then the main very meaty ones indeed. I mean, you won't see a bigger sort of cabane strut on a biplane really, much thicker than the one on here. As a design, it's quite a meaty, chunky looking thing. yeah, that's what probably gave it strength and manoeuvrability. Then you've got your top wing coming together, top and bottom there. And we've got our, you've got some little fillets going in here, and then ailerons going onto the top wing. Is it top wing? Bottom, yeah, top wing. And then the top wing itself comes down here onto the rest of the assembly. Building up your wheels and tyres. Yeah, split wheels, I'm not a fan of that. I keep saying this with many manufacturers like Airfix and Revell and ICM. Do wish they'd just mould them in one, but anyway. This kit was made to a price, I suppose. And then we've got our legs coming in there. You've got the legs and the wheels coming together. You've got the actual... another helicopter. What's going on? Am I being strafed or something? They found my location. That's what's happening. It's a noisy one, isn't it? Right over. Anyway, and then we've got these the wheel spats that come over, the shrouds. Of course, it's not got to be traction on the carriage, it's a fixed gear. So these shrouds are very important for the aerodynamics, so they come in there. Then we've got a drop tank underneath, or I've certainly got an external fuel tank anyway, when they actually drop them. I suspect they don't on this actually. It's not that tight, is it? Then we've got some, what's that for? Some aerial. This isn't entirely clear, is it? Really? Here, that could be clearer. Part of the mould. They mean the sprue. Melt it over a flame and then cut it 10 centimeters. Is it? Yeah. Length 9 millimeters. 9 millimeters. 9 millimeters. 10 to 9 millimeters, basically. Yeah. 1 millimeter. Thickness, 9 millimeters long is what they're saying. And then you've got all these underwing little pylons, basically to hold the bombs, little pallets for the bombs. Then you've got your it's just a twin-bladed propeller only. Single blade, isn't it? I should say single blade to be correct, technically correct. And then you've got your little bombs going on there, 250-pound bombs, I think. Two types, standard one, and one that's got the long proboscis on it, where my thumb is, which of course is to make it detonate above the ground when you're bombing the civilians in Guernica, which we don't really like, but anyway, that's what happened. So I shouldn't joke about it, it's not very nice, was it? They had a terrible time. And there you can see the two different types going in under the wing, and then you have your finished Henschel there. A nice looking aircraft. There's a minimal masking on this. Is one where ICM's masks stencil would be more than adequate, I think. Soon do that with a bit of tam-yard tape, and then we're on to the colour call-outs here for the first version, Legion Condors. It doesn't say where they were based, which is a bit of a shame. Just know it's Spain. First version is 24. The second version is, hang on a second, where does it say 24 twice? 24, 24? 24, 5, oh no, hang on a second, I get this wrong. 24, 3, 24, 4, and 24, 5 on the back. Okay. Nice simple instructions, maybe a little bit too simple on me, and I've been spoiled because my last review was of course the Qatari, which had the most magnificent instructions you'd probably ever see anywhere, as good as anyway. I've never seen anything better than what came in that kit. So yeah, it's an area for the future, I think. You know, ICM, when things are better, let's hope that there are happier days ahead for them and their country, but when that is the case, perhaps they can then invest and recruit some people and do a bit more work on the instructions. We won't worry about that today. Won't let that count against them. So, one big bag, nice and easy to get into. Don't have to cut anything, and the sprues are sensibly put together. Now they're not all exactly the same size as sprue, but they have a size that's like these have a full sprue, like a half sprue, and then sometimes a third. But they put them in the bag in a way that means that they're not going to fly about. They're not just thrown in, like we have the Airfix Stalwart and others. They're put in a very sensible way that will keep them tight and avoid any damage. Says fingers crossed. Just my luck for it to go horribly wrong. So I've just realised I've not had the light on, so if those instructions looked a bit dim, it's my fault. Right then, now we've got a new tool here. Now, and you can tell. Here we go, this is going to be nice. So, we've got our fuselage. Look at this top cowling where the guns recesses, isn't that nice? Wow, that's a beauty. It's got like ridges, like a ridge on the top of the actual recess. I think they've done that superbly. We've got a nice sort of feeling, the usual ICM style plastic in the satin finish. Good panel line details. You look at the Henschel, the shape of the tail is very like the 109, isn't it? It really is actually, it's just a bit bigger perhaps. And then over on this side we've got more of the same. Sorry, I'm zoomed too much. I'm learning to zoom just a fraction less because I think we get better clarity. So we've got nice panel lines here. All very simple stuff, but great rivet detail as well at the front where the grills are, letting the heat out of the engine. I think it's where they have the radiator in fact, isn't it? But I like that, I particularly like the way they've done that. That looks absolutely epic. Very sharply moulded. So that's a good start. Put that one there for a second. Then we've got the wings. And of course we've got, this is the bottom wing here. Again, I'll zoom back slightly for this. Bottom wing here. And some really nice nice moulding. Good detail. No problems at all there. That's nice, plenty of, and it's got the holes actually for, now that's good, it's something that you don't get with Airfix on most others actually. They've actually got the holes for those pallets for the bombs already contained within. So that really is good. And then you've got this is the top section of that same, the top of the bottom wing, if you know what I mean, where the cabane strut is going to fit in there, of course. That's that one. There will of course be another set of wings, and I'm going to get that out now because it kind of makes sense to do that next, I think. So this is the top wing now, and this is the one of course that is much bigger, the top wing in span, and this is the one that has all your aileron controls on it. So the bottom wing is just like a slave wing, it doesn't have ailerons, unlike on some biplanes when you have them on top and bottom. And as you can see, so this is the top of, sorry, the bottom I should say, of the top wing, confusing, so it'd be like that. And you can see where that huge cabane strut, you can see the depth of the cord of that cabane strut, just how big it is. It's huge, isn't it? Yeah, that is really thick and long at the, and it varies in actual thickness, smaller at the bottom and thicker at the top. And you can see that they've got the sort of contours, the stretched skin. Although it's not fabric, of course, it is metal on these. And they've done a really fine job with the detail, as you can see. That's nothing wrong with that. That's very nice. It's very nice. They're a lot bigger, those wings, though, than they are on the lower wing. Then we've got all our other details. So we've got here the lower rear fuselage, where you're going to have your tail wheel. Excellent detail on these engine cylinders. They've done that really nicely, I think. That's really cool. And over here you've got all those pipes for the exhausts. And you've got our sort of cowling, sort of petals I described. You've got your instruments here. I think we'll have a closer zoom on. There's your propeller and spinner. Well, spinner's just a little bot really, isn't it? A nub, you might call it. But that's nice, because look how they've moulded it. They've put the sprue gate contact point in just the right position. Here you've got these enormous struts I've just been talking about. You can see what I meant about the depth of the cord of them. How chunky they are. Look at that. It's massive. Massive. And then you've got the other side one here, the one that doesn't have the pitot on it. Over here you've got your petals of the cowling petals, different sections. Just be careful how you glue those, don't go in too hot. And then you've got your con rods, push rods I should say, not con rods are in the engine, in the middle. Push rods I mean, for the engine. And then we've got our horizontal stabilisers here, top bit and bottom bit there. You've got over here of course the bulkheads, just spin it around. There we go, bulkheads here. It's a lovely sprue that, flawless, clean, can't see any sink, can't see any flash, a stunning sprue, Starting to have a little bit of an accident here. So we have got some clear parts which I've left in the bag. So we noticed they were there. Hang on a second. There we go. Why don't we have a look at them then? So, clear parts. Let's have a look, see. So I've got, whoops. Oh, it doesn't want to come off this one. There we go. Oh, sorry. Just off camera a bit there. Let me show you the time, do we? So, what do we think of these? I mean, there's not much to it. It's just basically a vestigial windscreen, but they've done it to their usual standard, I would say. Have they? Yes, they have. Yes, they've done that very, very nicely. I mean, nothing to see here really because there's so little of it. So I would suggest to you that ICM's man that does the famous polishing of the mould tool, I should say, with his bamboo stick, he's had quite an easy day here today. He's not had to do too much labour there. Just a 3-5 minute job, you know. It looks beautiful. Whoops, putting the wrong way. That might be better. There we go. That's it. Super. Okay. Now then, this has got all the intricate parts and they've done a beautiful job with these. Wait till you see the detail here. The moulding quality here is exemplary. It's up there with Qatari, but look how tiny it is. Now then. I say Qatari, but it's a bit more. There's a bit more parts than Qatari. See? So we've got all manner of tiny levers and trim adjusters, levers. These are the control surfaces here for the tail elevators. They're very sort of loud and proud on this aircraft. Look a bit vulnerable, don't they, really? But then you've got your exhaust pipes there, where they come out of the engine. There's various different versions of it coming out of the engine there and there. And you've got your smaller struts that go just near the pilot on the inboard section between the two, well, not between the two wings, between the top wing and the fuselage, really. And you've got your intake over there. Intake, you've got your tail wheel. We've got the cannons. That's what I'm looking for. The cannons. I think those are the cannons here. I think so. I think they are. And then you've got your stick. Nice stick there. Complete with, it's got the brake lever, hasn't it? I think that's the brake lever in the middle. And then you've got these, like the CO2 canister, I think it's a CO2 canister. There's the oxygen bottle there. Canister here, oxygen bottle here. And this is like a stirrup here. This is actually like a step stirrup for climbing up to the aircraft that pop down. I don't think they stay out. I think they retract slightly. And there you have it. Really, there's a lot of small parts there, but look at the quality of them. There's no flash, no mess, no sink, no messing at all. Here, going back a bit now. There we go. Here we've got all the sort of control surfaces. So we've got your ailerons, you've got the little fillets that go inside the wing ailerons, and again a very 109 looking style to the elevators in terms of the shape. I'm sure a lot of you recognise that. And again, same again, 109 style. Very similar to the rudder. Yeah, and they've got that nicely moulded as well. Absolutely brilliant. So there's all your elevators and all your control surfaces together. And then finally we've got a double sprue here. So here we have got here we've got the is that the gear or is that the tail wheel? That's the tail wheel, I think, here. The tail wheel sort of, it looks like a bomb cradle, but it can't be because it doesn't have a cradle. It has a tank underneath. There's your bombs though. Speaking of bombs, 250-pound bombs. You've got your wheel spats, the aerodynamic wheel spats covers. Here you've got your actual wheels and tyres themselves. and your bombs with a proboscis on the front to detonate above the ground and wipe out as many civilians as they can. Also enemy soldiers, of course. Sound a bit cynical when I say that. And then you've got your main... that's your main gear. Yeah, the main gear. I'm forgetting, it looks different because of course it's within the shroud, you don't see it, but that's the leg for your main gear. And there are 2 of these sprues, don't forget, so you get everything duplicated twice as much as what you see here. And I was wrong about the cannon and the machine guns, because there they are. So again, there's 2 machine guns. Bit of zoom on this. There's your machine gun. It looks very similar to an MG34 to me, or a variant of. Only disappointment is the barrel muzzle, the muzzle end is not actually drilled out, or there's no hole at the muzzle, no aperture. So you might just have to be, if you really want to do that. They're not that easy to see, mine, so it may not be. It's not really a deal breaker, I don't think. So there we have it. So that is your Hs123A. Got to be honest, it's exactly what I sort of expected. It's right up there with the latest releases from ICM. Very clean looking moulding, crisp, sharp, no flash, no sink. Looks really nice, to be honest. Nice kit, that. Let us try, if you bear with me and just cover your ears while this noisy bag gets put through its paces. I'm going to put it all back together as it was, and then we will have a quick look at the other one and try and decide if we can discern what the differences are. There we go. Like that. There's a knack to this, so I probably haven't got. Okay, bear with. That'll be a moment. Oh, it went in quite easily in the end. With a minimal noise, I would suggest. So that was very nice. A beautiful kit. I think we've done a good job there. Makes me very optimistic, looking forward to this. The Hamden that's coming in the not too distant future. That's going to be a beauty, I think. I'm not sure why other manufacturers like Airfix didn't do a new one of those, but it doesn't matter, of course. They've all got their own different schedules and agendas and things, I suppose. But I think it's going to be a beauty. I don't think we'll be sorry that I see them too big. A beautiful kit. Now, in terms of marks out of 10, I think they'll end up both being the same. We'll look at that one again in a minute. I think it's a 9.5, 9.75. Instructions could have been a bit more clarity. Apart from that, maybe a little bit of the. I think 9.75 is fair. It's a very nice kit, that. It's going to be retailing for about 38, 40, just under £40, I think. 40s, around. Put 40 in your head. It's 40. Between 38 and 45 quid is probably where you're going to find it. Depending on the retailer. But let's have a look at this, and this has got the most fantastic artwork. This has got even better artwork, I think. So we're going to see some differences, and you'll note the big mast on top of the wing, the aerial mast. That's one of the big key differences. And it says on the side, first of all, let's just show you the difference. We've got more options this time. This time the Germans are not hiding their light under a bushel. They've come out in the open. So this is the Luftwaffe. Is that school? Yeah, this is flying school. So this is telling you that they moved it on to trainers, to become a trainer, to learn the ways of the force, so to speak, want to get their hands on a 109 or similar. Spring 1940, summer 1941, and then winter 1942, and then this one looks like it's combat unit, spring of 44. I don't fancy its chances in 44, do you? Bear in mind that would be the year when they are actually training in this, and then find themselves flying in an ME-262 or a ME-163 Comet. Doesn't matter thinking about it, really, does it? Right. It doesn't give you any more detail, actually. It just says it's an accurate depiction of the late version of the attack aircraft. Right, let's have a look what we got. Can we see any discernible differences? So this will be a lot briefer now. So I'm saying 9.75 out of 10. I think that's fair. I think it's beautifully crafted. No quality issues I could see at all. Just would like a bit more detail on the instructions. That's the only reason it doesn't get a 10. And I don't think that's too hard. This is where you really need gloves. Somebody else said to me a few weeks ago, I said, I'm going to get some of those gloves. I've had a couple of ICM kits and I see what you mean. Yes, yes, they are really useful for them. Right, box in the box, as usual. Now, most of this is going to be the same. Most of it will be. I think that the actual sprues are identical. I just think they're telling you to use different ones, which we'll see in a second. Let's have a look at these markings, because these are going to be different, aren't they? Now, are we going to get any of the dreaded symbol? We are. They don't put it on the box, which I'm misgivings about, but I understand. But look, right, Qatari, pay attention, because we're going to see how it's done, alright? Sorry if I'm sounding a bit stroppy, but I was a bit cross about that. Pardon the pun, made me very cross. Can you see what they've done here? Now, that does not, to the innocent eye, that looks completely innocent. Doesn't mean anything, but obviously when you... It's a bit like the nuclear bomb, isn't it, this? In the right proportions and quantities, it's perfectly safe and inert. But when you bring the two critical mass together, kaboom, you know, it's a problem. Well, that's up to you. That's a matter for you. But joking apart, this is a serious business because we don't want to be erasing history. ICM know this, and they are perfectly calmly and sensibly and thoughtfully creating a way that you can make the aircraft look realistic. Now, what they show in the markings, yeah, to sort of highlight the point, let me just show you this. It's not actually that great in terms of the colourings, but this is what they do in terms of the way it's depicted. So they don't show it fully, but they leave you no doubt where it goes. You know, they'll leave you no doubt where it goes. They are not pointing it out, not drawing attention to it, which is a little bit of a shame. But I understand they don't want to be seen to be promoting it. But here's the thing. Now that was similar on the instructions to Qatari. But here's the thing. It's blooming obvious to us. That is completely obvious how that works without more than a second of thought. That wasn't the case with the Qatari, and they wanted you to put one decal on top of another, which I don't like either, for technical reasons. That's a bad idea, can cause problems. So, end of my rant. But these are beautiful, beautiful decals, and I think these are particularly good ones, actually. Let's see. I think they've done these extremely well. Now these decals, I think they do them themselves, but you know. What is not to like there? They've nailed it, haven't they? They've really nailed it. Oh, look at that. They've got the bear. What's that? A bear and a goose, is it? I'm struggling. It's not a goose, is it? What is it? I'm struggling to work out what that is with the bear. The bear looks like he's got an axe in his hand. Looks like he's chopping an umbrella. Is that me? That's what my eyes are telling me. I am due for the eye test very shortly, so I could be wide of the mark. So just if I've got that completely wrong, just have a laugh amongst yourselves. Here's your instrumentation. I think they've done that nicely. Yeah. Now I say to Revell, and I say to Airfix, I say to Qatari, and so many of these manufacturers who just seem to panic. That is how it's done. Yeah, that's how you get around this issue and still give the modeler what should be included in the box. Not to go out buying aftermarket, you know. And it's bad enough that you have to buy things like mask sets. Okay, there's a bit of a different version of the history here, which is quite interesting. It says, in 1933, at the initiative of the German Reich Ministry of Aviation, development began of a specialised dive bomber. In the spring of 1935, the prototype, developed by Henschel Flugzeugwerk AG, made its first flight. They were also widely used in training units. At the start of World War II, these aircraft were used during the invasion of Poland and shortly after in France and also in the Balkans, where they demonstrated high survivability against enemy anti-aircraft fire, even withstanding direct hits. Okay. Later, the HS-123 saw action in the Luftwaffe units against the Soviet Union, as depicted here. Despite its outdated design, the aircraft remained in service with German units till as late as 1944. Wow, good luck with that. You don't want to be meeting a mosquito, though, do you? Do you know what I mean? Or a Mustang? Oh, no, not cool. Right, so, you know what I'm saying. So, here we go. I'm just going to flash through this because I say I'm pretty sure that everything, that the sprues themselves are not different. I think it's just the markings basically, and then everything is indeed the same. So there's just a couple of parts. There's the mast that gets used, which was deleted on the other one. So you're just adding parts, just using parts that weren't used on the other. And I'll show you the parts I mean as we get to the end. Here they go. So it's parts like this one, which is the mast for the aerial here. It's like G48. That's different. And they move the, yeah, they've moved the little, what do you call it, the Venturi, Venturi post. That's moved. Everything else is pretty much the same, but obviously a completely different marking set. So let's have a look at the colour call-outs. Let me just zoom you back. There we go. Those are nice. I think that's a nice one actually. I like that colouring. Oh yes, that's very interesting. Yeah, I like that one. So that was used in France in the spring of 1940. So this is probably being used to bomb the French and the British columns as they retreat during the Blitzkrieg. And if that didn't work, they'd call up the Stukas obviously. And then we've got the one in the summer of 1941 at the pilot school at Prosnitz. So this is the pilot school training to fly military aircraft, and then we've got the same thing for the pilot school again, or the training squadron I should say, Eastern Front in the winter of 1942. And you've got this white version, or proper white camo version. And then finally, Eastern Front in the spring of 1944. Well, that's very dangerous because by then they'd got things like the Yak 9 and the Yak 10 as well. You're up against Sturmovix. What's the other one I'm thinking of? It's another Soviet fighter. But a very dangerous place to be in 1944 would be behind the controls of this particular aircraft, I think. I think I'd try and get out of that. I mean, they'd already, retired the Stuka by then, so you wouldn't want a biplane, really? Okay. Anyway. So I don't think we're going to bother with the plastic because it is literally, everything I've shown you in the first sprues are absolutely the same, so we're going to leave that unsealed. What did you think then? What did you think? So that ends up being quite a simple affair to show you as it turned out. Not as difficult as I thought it might be. Was there a recommended set of paints for this? Did it say that? Oh yes, it says 3095 is the paint set that they recommend. Olive green, German field grey, camo green and pale blue. Pale blue? What about the white? I'm not sure that's... Does that cover it? Got me wondering. I don't think it covers the white, folks. I'm not sure that it does. N. I'm not sure. No, it doesn't actually cover the white, it has to be said. Just so you know. You can do any scheme but the white one with that paint set, so that's a little bit tricky. Now, speaking of which, because I almost forgot, which would be very remiss of me, ICM very, very kindly have sent me the paint set. So actually, I've got to tell you now, they've made a mistake. They've made a mistake. They have got the right, they've made a mistake in that instructions. This paint set is the right set and does give you what you need. Look, it's a good job I checked, isn't it? It's a good job I reached down and remembered that at the last minute. Here we have, what have we got? German field grey, white grey. White grey, which is not mentioned in that instructions. That's the one, white grey. You've also got deep yellow, also not mentioned in the instructions, and then camo green, pale blue and dark sea grey. So this 3095 is indeed the set you need. See them all on the side there. And then of course it shows you the two basic types of camo that it's suitable for. So of course, get yourself one of these. They're only about £12 or £15 in the shops or online, maybe even cheaper. I think that is a wonderful set, and I'm glad now that I actually asked for this, because I thought, oh, should I ask for the paint set, because I don't actually need to have that set for actually painting it myself, because I've got the full set. But if they hadn't sent that, we wouldn't have noticed, and it might have caused a great deal of confusion. So ignore what it says in the instructions about which ones are included, which it doesn't show properly for some bizarre reason. It really doesn't. That set is everything you need, so don't be worried. That's the one you must buy if you want to get that set. Goes with that plane. So I'm very glad we got to the bottom of that, so I might have missed it quite easily. Well, again, everything applies. 9.75 out of 10. So, and 10 out of 10 for the paint. So it is near as damn it to a 10, isn't it? There we go. So that's our Henschel 123A A1 and a beautiful paint set to boot. What do you think? I think that was a really nice. Oh, I've actually left the decals out. I'll put them away after. Brilliant. Thank you, ICM, for providing the kits. No cost to me. That doesn't make any difference to my opinion of the kit. It's flaw free. Just wish the instructions a tiny bit more clarity here and there. Apart from that, there is nothing not to like, and it's quite an interesting period, especially Legion Condor. So you pay your money, takes your choice. So you can either have the late versions, of, the Eastern Front, or 1940 attacking the British and the French, or you can have them attacking civilians in Spain. But it's very historic to have it in those colours, and a very interesting subject actually. Spanish Civil War is a war that, it's a bit like the Falklands War actually. It doesn't get enough coverage. It doesn't get enough, there's not enough knowledge about it. I'm not brilliant on it either. I'm not great in my knowledge of it. Something I might change. Maybe I'll look into it a bit more, and we'll maybe have a talk on that in the future on the other channel. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and you found the review interesting and useful. I can certainly commend these to you very strongly indeed, with as near as damn it to a 10 out of 10 as you can get. So, thanks very much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up, give me a like, because we need all the help we can get. Please, as I mentioned at the beginning, do go and look at the other channel, Peter Goes Rogue. I'll put the link in below. Need all your support. Please subscribe if you're one of the regular viewers to this channel, even if it's not your cup of tea. Although I think you'll find there's bound to be some items that will be of interest to you. Not all of them, perhaps, but quite a few. So please do subscribe. It costs you nothing. We're not begging for money. We're just looking for a bit of support. That's all. Moral support, you might say, but it does help the channel to grow. And when you watch a video, also very important, and I've learned, making comments on videos is much more important to the algorithm than I realised. So if you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up and just make a comment, say that was great, or it was rubbish, I think you're talking nonsense. It doesn't matter. Just give us a comment, because it's important to help the channel grow. Both channels. Thanks very much anyway. Until next time, we'll be along soon with some more very interesting, more ICM kits to look at. Another new tool, and another not so new tool, but that's very interesting. So stay tuned, and until next time, stay well, stay safe, look after yourselves. Thanks for all your time in watching the videos. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.